All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine with 905 Sports. Going to be getting into the Monday morning showdown game. All right. I wonder if anyone caught that on the cover photo out there as well, because SMF instead of Sunday Night Football like I've been doing. Just kind of curious there. You know, it's the little things there. But we got the Saints versus the Vikings, and this is going to be an interesting game. Like, does this count as primetime Kirk Cousins? I know it's not like technically like a night game, but it is like the game in London. Like, do we get primetime Kirk Cousins, which wouldn't be a good thing? And then you got the Saints who are all banged up. Like, this is kind of a fun showdown slate because we have some of those questions to answer. So let's answer them for you. So let's start with the Saints. So Jameis Winston is looking like he's going to sit. He's doubtful. We're not expecting him to play. Alvin Kamar is expected to play, and as a result, he should be a good play. And I'll touch on that in a second. Michael Thomas, he has been ruled out, which is good to know. And then we got Jarvis Landry, who typically speaking, Jarvis Landry will try to play through an injury. So he's currently questionable. You know, I think he's going to play just because that's who he is. He always tries to grind these out. And if he does play, like, he could be a fine play. Like, targets should be there. He could be a safe kind of discounted play for you. But really, the plays on this slate are kind of obvious. Like, with Jameis Winston out, you could easily play Andy Dalton. He's going to be a little bit too cheap. Are Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton that different talent-wise? I would say at this point in Dalton's career, you know, yes, there is a difference. But at the same time, it shouldn't hurt too much for like one game. You know, he can still have good drives, good series for sure. Like Andy Dalton, NFL backup at this point of his career, but a seasoned NFL backup. So we're not too worried about the other weapons. And as price point, you could certainly play him against the Vikings, who are not a good defense. So I do like Andy Dalton, especially in the flex scenario there. 6K, super cheap. That is something you can easily work in there. Also do really love Chris Olave, who the last 2 weeks, Chris Olave has seen 13 targets. In that Tampa Bay game, I remember coming out, watching it, I think I said that on the game-by-game breakdown, is that Chris Olave was just open a ton. Just him and Jameis Winston were missing barely. You know, those big plays were there. That's a good thing. And then thus, I kind of thought he could be a sneaky play, you know, last week. Ended up having a good game. You know, really went off, 26.7 DK points. And he was just open downfield. And then once Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were having those injury problems, he then started to get some work in the short yardage game as well. That is something that I'm excited to see, is not only that he's been able to get open downfield, but with Michael Thomas out, they're going to get him some of those shorter manufactured plays as well. So at, you know, 8.6, I do think he's a strong play. He was very impressive. Now, maybe you worry about a rookie receiver playing in an overseas game, you know, his first real big, you know, away game. You know, I don't know. Maybe that'd be a reason he doesn't do well. I'm not really buying into that. I was trying to find a reason why he might suck. But he should be, I mean, he looked the part. Let's put it that way. Alvin Kamar is a very interesting play to me as well, because he has looked good on film. The plays have been there. He's had some plays called back, but he just hasn't been getting those same touches and plays there like they had been. Like, he did have 22 opportunities last week, but only 2 receptions, okay? Against Atlanta, 9 rushing attempts, 4 targets. Like, that just wasn't enough. And it was kind of strange. And that game, it just kind of worked out that way is kind of what I would say. Game flow kind of happened that way. He had a couple of plays called back to where it looked like the workload wasn't that big. And then against the Panthers, you know, just fine production. Like, against the Vikings, this is by far his best matchup. I do expect Alvin Kamar to have a good game against the Vikings. And especially with Michael Thomas ruled out, like, you should see a couple more like short dump offs going Alvin Kamar's way. And especially with Andy Dalton, who, you know, vision wise, that's probably what he's going to be looking at, is short to long, rather than like Jameis Winston, who's kind of been looking long to short throughout his whole career. So Alvin Kamara does make a lot of sense as a play. From there, are there any value plays we could go with? Like Marquez Callaway, he did make that sweet catch at the end of the game last week. I don't know, maybe he gets a few more snaps with Michael Thomas out. They do really like Traquan Smith there. You know, he had a good game. We're just guessing at that point. Those guys could have a good game. I'm fine with that. Mark Ingram is at a cheap price point. You know, he has been getting some touches. Do I love him? No, I don't. Like, I don't see the point to playing him. And then I do want to point out Juwan Johnson has been playing a lot of snaps. Last week, only got 1 target. Prior to that, had been productive. He is someone that could have a game. I'm not betting on it. So really, I just want to get into the Minnesota Vikings from there. Justin Jefferson has kind of been shut down the last 2 games. Jeff Okudah shut him down, which is kind of crazy. Jeff Okudah shut down Justin Jefferson. Wild. But against Philly, who's a pretty good defense, he kind of struggled as well. I thought the Eagles game was more or less Kirk Cousins having a bad game, having a primetime Kirk Cousins game, okay? The Vikings were able to win against Detroit as well, so we don't really care about that game from Justin Jefferson. All these elite players are going to have some random bad games. I kind of see Justin Jefferson kind of having a showout game, although I do want to point out that Adam Thielen's like famous knee dive slide where he's like, that came at the London game. And part of the reason why Justin Jefferson has been struggling the last 2 games is because they do still have Adam Thielen there, who is a good NFL receiver. And they do still have Dalvin Cook there, who is a good NFL running back. Like, that's kind of the problem with some of these like good offenses, is that everyone eats sometimes, and sometimes the best player just doesn't get that production. So like, I could certainly see Adam Thielen having a good game once again this one. The Saints defense is pretty good though. So you do kind of think that they will be able to hinder some of the production that would go to like Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen. I do like Adam Thielen as price point. I do think we can fit in Justin Jefferson, and then we could still probably fit in, a decent Vikings player. Is this a route that I like to go? Not exactly, no. I would like to be able to afford to pay up for Thielen or Jefferson. Looking at Dalvin Cook, he is going through a shoulder injury. He's going to be wearing a sling. He should be fine. He should be good to go. Had a good game last week against the Detroit Lions, like you would expect him to have. Really, he does feel a little bit like a touchdown dependent play where he's not getting used enough in general, but certainly in the passing game to really go out and dominate a slate. Showdown wise, I do think he's going to do enough to possibly be in the winning lineup. KJ Osborne is a player that has been playing a lot of snaps, over 70% of the snaps. We saw last week they needed to use him because Justin Jefferson was getting so much defensive attention that KJ Osborne went out and had a good game. Could we see that again? Could we see Marshawn Lattimore shutting down Justin Jefferson? Could Justin Jefferson get shut down for the 3rd straight week? Maybe. And honestly, just lineup path wise, I'm going to put my money on that because it just makes more sense lineup path wise to try to afford KJ Osborne rather than try to force in Justin Jefferson. So from there, we do have a decent build going. Oh man, that's unfortunate. I would love to be able to fit like Kirk Cousins in there. That would have been nice. Let's try to get Dalvin Cook in there instead. Let me see what I can do. Yes, Dalton in the captain spot. Wow. KJ Osborne, Kirk Cousins. We did it. We did it. That's a pretty good build. I mean, you're fading Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook so you don't feel great about it, but then you're getting the next best options at each tier. So that's pretty good. Now I will say, do you want to bet on Kirk Cousins? Primetime Kirk Cousins. I know it's a 2:30 game in London, but it is the showcase game in London. Do you think primetime Kirk Cousins is because of the primetime pressure? Or is it literally because of the time? Like he just sucks in night games. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But if you think it's because he just sucks in the primetime pressure, then the Saints defense would be a defense to look at because, Cousins has had those games where he just looks terrible. Maybe that happens. And then the Saints would be a fine value play. The tight end here has been playing a decent amount. If you're searching for value, which, occasionally happens, I don't see the need to play value on the slate, but it would be him. Been playing enough snaps, and that's really it. So pretty decent build that we got going there. If anything changes on Sunday morning, I'll try to tweet that out. If any thoughts change, it is a London game, so we'll have to see on that stuff that would come out pretty early in the day. This video is being posted on Sunday, afternoon. So, stuff can change. We'll see, but I do like that build I put out there for you guys. Don't feel comfortable fading both Jefferson and Cook, but it could work. But that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. That helps out the channel. And as always, let's keep cashing.